Welcome to our new episode of Everything is a Scam podcast, or as I will call it, the Scamcast, from a undisclosed location in Madrid, Spain, and an even more undisclosed location, which I'll give no further details for. So my father and I were talking about the IRS and taxes before we started doing this. I figured that's a great place to start talking about because that's definitely a scam in many ways than one. So as we know, starting from a more political point, everyone's saying that they passed that law, Inflation Reduction Act. I think they said they were gonna hire around like 80,000 new IRS agents, something like that. And it's already coming out, of course, that the IRS is I think they actually released a new like guidelines that they're going after like service workers tips, basically. They're cracking down on calculating and taxing service workers' tips. But of course, that's easy, and they're not going to go after people who should be going out when we're talking billions of dollars.
Well, should we introduce ourselves?
We know people, it doesn't matter. People listening to it know who we are or not. Fine,
Okay.
introduce yourself.
I'm Lee Heller. And who are you?
I'm Lee J. Heller. My name is right there. Anybody who's probably listening is going to know who I am or not. I don't
All
care.
right. So my name is just Lee.
Yes, because you don't know how to change your Zoom name. And I probably should change my Zoom name, but I don't care. All right. More
All right.
importantly, let's
So
talk
here,
about the scam IRS taxes.
all right. Well, first I want to say the scam, the root of the scam is not the IRS. The root of the scam is the centuries of Congresses putting a century of the Congress putting tax codes in that completely favor the wealthiest people and businesses. And that's really the problem. The IRS, has such a complicated job to go through the in, intensely sophisticated, intricate tax returns based upon a code that has so many loopholes that, of course, the loopholes are immediately attacked by, high priced accounting.
Well, that supports my overall grand theory of American governance and politics is deliberate incompetence. The tax code is deliberately fucked up so that it's almost impossible for any normal person to understand, and anybody who's wealthy enough to pay the best lawyers and accountants can get away with anything.
So what's the real story on Biden's minimum 15% taxed corporations? Is that
Uh,
true?
Well, I mean, I've been living overseas, so I'm not as cognizant or aware of that. I mean, again, I'm always going to take the most cynical approach. So I'm going to say yes, maybe they actually made the law that corporations are supposed to pay 15% at least. But remember what did they say? The effective tax rate is what they actually pay is probably
Right,
still zero because they haven't fixed the tax code. Again, I don't know what the hell they do, and most people
right,
don't. They don't even know. They don't read the bills they vote for most of the time, right?
right.
So quickly, I just want to show you right here. This is from the IRS website. It says IRS introduces new service industry tip reporting program. Treasury Department and Internal Revenue Service today issued Notice 2023-13, which contains a proposed revenue procedure that would establish the Service Industry Tip Compliance Agreement, a voluntary reporting program between the IRS and employees of various service industries. The IRS is issuing this guidance in proposed form to provide an opportunity for public comment.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So in other words,
that's the first thing they do.
they want to right.
They want to go after the service workers'
They
tips.
want to go after the AOCs of the world.
Right. The bartenders, the
Yeah.
waitresses, the waiters.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem.
Right. Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah. That was like Reagan and his welfare queens.
Right. It's you could always well that's the thing that's part another part of the scam of our society and political discourse. Like, yes, you could always find a bad example of someone doing something you don't like. But going back to, like you say, your dear departed coworker Ray, who always used to take the Republican hating immigrants approach to everything. He always complained that, oh, it's the immigrants coming and taking all the money, whatever you want to say. And then you're like, but that whatever that is infinitesimal compared to the billions of dollars in taxes that super wealthy and corporations never pay. Or, as we've said, they get tax rebates, which they actually get money from the government. So we end up
they get subsidies from us.
Right. I forgot. Well, not just subsidies, but literally a tax rebate. I forgot what year it was, but I think Amazon literally paid zero taxes because of how the tax code works. They actually got like $150 or $150 million in like a tax rebate from the government.
Right. That's because they lost money for their first 10 years and they get to amortize that, and they're still taking the loss against their taxes.
Wasn't that what they did when, like, a couple years ago, when they finally got some of Trump's taxes, and I guess he had like $100 million loss or something one year, so he didn't have to pay taxes for like 10 years, something like that. And didn't they actually finally release his taxes, but nobody cares? Because I never followed up on that.
Yes, they released his taxes.
And no, so what?
What's so right?
What else is new?
All right. Like somebody just said, some talking head just said this morning, hey, look, let's just talk about not Secret Service documents that were in Trump's drawer. Let's just focus on the worst thing he ever did, which was the January 6th insurrection. Let's just focus on that, because the list of other problems is endless and we get lost in it. And I said, here, drop everything and just put the guy in an orange jumpsuit and put him in jail so he can join his friend, his other friend that got committed suicide, was it?
What, Epstein?
Yeah.
Oh God, we are not ready to have an Epstein conversation. Let's stay with the IRS first, because well, there's two avenues we can take. We can talk about my personal Department of Labor scam. They tried to scam me. They tried to fuck me, and I won.
Right.
Because I'm your son, and I always say you are 98.9% correct in most things, but you have the tact of a like screaming cat that no one you're very abrasive, and nobody puts up with that shit. So it sometimes causes you more trouble than it's worth. I try to use a lighter touch on things, and I feel like it's been more useful, but I'll go that way. I'll go scorched earth if they force me to, but at least try to give them the benefit of the doubt and create a solution. So before we do that, let's talk about IRS tax scams. You said, what was it, Chuck Berry got scammed by the IRS back in the day? Tell me about that.
It's not that he got scammed. It's just that the IRS has always spent, for decades and decades, they always seem to be going after the entertainers who make a lot of money and maybe are not sophisticated to know what businesses get created. It's like Wozniak from Apple. He was a great inventor, but does he know how to run a corporation?
Right. Well, that's why he got scammed by Steve Jobs.
Right. Exactly.
You know that famous story about how he got scammed originally?
Sure, of course. Because, there's one thing to do what you're skilled and talented at.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily has anything to do with success in the capitalist system.
Well, I'm going to give you a quick rundown, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'll give the quick version. So my understanding of this famous story is this was in the 70s, I think, and they're both very young. And Steve Jobs, I think it was Atari, had like they released some sort of like competition, and they said whoever can get the most microchips on this motherboard or something will get $6,000 prize. So then Steve Jobs found that out, and then he told Steve Wozniak that it was $600. So he's not the tech nerd. The Wozniak was. So Wozniak was able to figure out how to connect all the microchips the most effective way. So he ended up splitting the $600. Steve Jobs ended up splitting the $600 with Wozniak.
Right.
So Wozniak got $300 for doing everything, and Steve Jobs got
Got
all of the money,
5,000.
got almost $6,000 and basically did nothing. So I feel like
Right.
that's a great example of American fuck you scam capitalism right there.
Right. That's
But
exactly how Microsoft became what it was. Bill
well,
Gates did the same shit.
well, that's my understanding. Like I try to, and correct me if I'm wrong. Let's go down that road. Minor, like all didn't he steal my Windows originally from his professor or something? That's the
Yeah.
story I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, yes, and yes.
So, and that's the point. You break down all these big tech companies; they all kind of have a similar scam story,
Right.
where there's some nerd that figures it out, and then some asshole comes in and takes over and screws the other guy.
Which is something I want to talk about after we do the IRS.
Well, we were already jumping over the place. Let's just do that real quick. So we all know the famous Facebook story. The Zuckerberg screwed that guy. They tried to screw him out, and then he had to
Right.
sue him, and he got like $6 billion. And then he moved to Singapore.
Right.
I know Twitter originally started off as one guy, and then Jack Dorsey scammed him, and he got nothing for it.
It's like my
Uh,
that's like when my sister got divorced.
right. Well,
She
tell us that.
she was married to a Swiss pharmaceutical doctorate who struggled all their married life. She was his second wife, and she struggled, and he worked very hard, was always on the road, and then they got divorced, and she forced him to do a settlement where she got like $5 million. And after the settlement, then he sold his rights to the time released capsule invention that he personally patented. And he all of a sudden had $700 million. But he waited until after the divorce.
Well, and information to follow up on that information I found out recently. I didn't even know this until recently when I had a reunion with some of our extended family. It was one of our cousins who actually said that Roberta was supposed to get less money, that he
Right.
tried to scam her over. But then she said, "I'm going to rat on you to, like, I guess the Swiss tax authority." So then he threw a couple more $1 million at
Right.
her, and then she went away.
Right. Because he
So
knew he was going to be cashing in big time.
I guess so. So he like, damn, he really quadruple scammed on that.
Oh, yeah.
He tried to Wozniak her, but
Yeah.
he ultimately did Steve Jobs in the end. Like he still
Right.
gave her less money. He gave her more money than he wanted to, but she still got a lot less money than she deserved.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Just like he's still scamming me.
Well, let's not talk about that.
Okay.
We're gonna have a grand finale.
That's a legal case.
Yeah,
We don't want to talk
that's
about
literally a pending legal case that will no longer be referenced anymore further. End of communication.
it.
No,
Okay.
tell me about the Chuck Berry situation, how they went after him.
Yeah, so Chuck Berry, he was quite a character. He is, if you'd ever seen him performing live, he was a super performer. Uh, the fans just adored him. So I met with him. He played New Paltz, one of our concert series, and Chuck Berry worked his very successful career driving himself in his station wagon from job to job and taking only cash payments. So that's just the way he was. When he came to the New Paltz Winter Weekend Extravaganza, it was a 3-day event. He came without a band, and he paid like local musicians to be his backup. And that's how he traveled around the country, probably the world. And so it was all cash, and he would send the cash to his secretary in, I think, Memphis, or I forget where his office was. And she would deposit his cash, and kind of his secretary was also kind of like his bookkeeper. Well, the IRS investigated, and they found out that he wasn't paying any taxes on all the money he was making because there were no records of the money he was making. But they pursued, they didn't give up, and they found him in default of paying taxes, and they sent him to jail for 5 years.
Oh, I didn't
And
even know.
the super
Oh,
super musician, adored by hundreds of millions of people, had to spend 5 years in jail, and he did.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
It's like never
yeah,
talked about,
I know. So now, they did the same thing with Willie Nelson,
right?
and he owed, $60 million, and they settled with him. They made him cut an album, and all the sales profits went to the IRS. I was just reading Nicolas Cage. There's just a whole list of entertainers that they've nailed, because the entertainers, they're all crazy people. They all live way, give an entertainer $10 million and he'll spend 50 million.
Right.
So that's who they've always focused on. As far as the white collar thieves and scumbags, they hardly ever throw them in
Well, like I
jail.
said, that's the scam Martha Stewart situation, which I guess they
Right.
got her for insider trading.
For a
But
phone call.
right, no. You mean like every conversation that happens on Wall Street every day?
Right.
And I'm sure is even worse now than it
Right.
was back then, but she goes to jail.
Yep.
So, I mean, to be fair, I'm sure the prison type of prison that Martha Stewart went to was a minimum security federal prison.
Right. But it was prison.
Yeah, but it's probably where the one that Ghislaine Maxwell hangs out.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Chuck Berry didn't get to go to the nice one either.
Right. Right.
So moral of the story is they're going after tipped servers, and they go after celebrities because we know that celebrities don't know what the hell they're doing when they make all that money, and they wait for them to fail and fuck up and then go after them,
Right.
which is true. They're not paying their taxes, but it's still like it's such a bait and switch, if that's a good term. Like whatever Chuck Berry didn't pay is so insignificant compared to, I'm sure, billions of dollars of financial transactions that are moved around all the time, especially now in the digital age. How do they even keep
Oh
track
yeah.
of it?
Oh yeah.
You know?
That's why
So,
they have to have a sales tax on financial trading.
well, that
Like
was
like I
that.
said, how come I have to pay tax if I buy a pair of shoes for my kid, but a Wall Streeter pays no tax when he buys a bucket of stocks?
Because the country's a scam, the
Right.
tax code is a scam, and the
Right.
carried interest loophole is there on purpose because the lobbyists paid the legislators to pass that law.
That's right.
We
How do you
always
how do you think the Pelosi's are all 100 millionaires?
Yeah, I think they keep saying that like somehow Paul Pelosi or Nancy Pelosi is like the best investor, better than like Warren Buffett or something. you
Right.
know?
Well, that's because she had the inside information.
Well, and just like during the pandemic, they caught all the senators doing insider trading.
Yeah. So
I
how
mean,
many went to jail?
zero.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even think it's illegal for them to do it. That's the difference. I don't even think it's actually a crime for them. Like it's a crime for Martha Stewart to do it.
And that line at that point, that thin line that it's legal, they never step over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. They
Oh,
step over.
like the minimum requirements. I think they have to do financial disclosures, but they probably don't do that either. You
Right.
know, like whatever's the
Right.
minimum require, they there's whatever. Because again, there's no consequences to anything anymore. So put Martha Stewart in jail, put all these people in jail. Oh, it's funny. I'm in Madrid, and I don't know if anybody even cares anymore, but the tax scam scandal here was. Do you even know? You ever heard of Shakira? Dad, she's a singer.
I know who Shakira is.
So last year, uh, the Spanish government has charged Shakira with defrauding the country of 14.5 million euros in taxes between 2012 and 2014. Because I guess she was living in Spain at the time and she never paid that. So that's who they're going after. And even though I think their former king had some shady tax scams. He did something. That's why he resigned early. And then, I think like 6 months or later or earlier, they just said yeah, and then they just let it, fizzled out. So now,
So, in short summary, to have universal health care, to fix all the bridges and roads, to fix all the airports. Oh, by the way, at LAX, a, a jet ran into a bus on the tarmac. You
did
know,
that
they had,
just did that just happen?
yeah, yesterday.
Oh, you mean because of the FAA system that hasn't been upgraded since the Clinton administration?
Right, exactly.
Oh my! They don't even talk about that. Like it was already happened. Was that like couple months ago already?
Yeah,
The whole air traffic controller system shut down,
yeah,
and then they said because part of the reason is it's still running on a system from the Clinton administration,
right.
which means, by the way, that even after 9/11, which was supposed to be the worst thing that ever happened in American history, at least in our lifetime, they invaded two countries, had two bullshit wars, one that lasted 20 years, one that was based on complete lies, but they didn't bother to upgrade the air traffic controller equipment.
Right.
So, okay, that's a scam right there.
Well, of
They
course.
have two fake wards, military industrial complex, I think was how much money? Trillions of dollars. But they didn't even bother to fix, like, why don't we do that? That seems like day one fix.
Do you know the story how they figured out how much money was going to Iraq during
Yeah,
the
you
war?
told me that they did it by measuring how heavy the plane was.
How much the pallets of cash bill
Oh, God.
weighed. They could
Oh,
figure out how many trillions of dollars were
oh.
sent.
So this is a segue, but since you just mentioned it, I want you to talk about how you literally knew a guy who was flying the planes for Iran-Contra.
That was yeah, in Long Beach. Your mom and I were in the upstairs apartment. Downstairs apartment was a layover apartment of trans American charter pilots and engineers. You know, back then there was always three or four people in the cockpit: the navigator, pilot, co-pilot, one other guy. Anyway, they would use the apartment. They, worked out of JFK, and they'd go on 14-day flight assignments, and then they'd be off 14 days, and they'd hang out. So one guy, Bill Baker, would drink a bottle of scotch every day. while he was on layover. And then he would get called to duty and he would stop drinking and, and go fly the plane. Shit. Anyway, uh, your mother and I went to lunch with one of them right there, right a couple of streets down from where we lived in Long Beach. There was a restaurant on the beach, which is featured in a Joan Jett "I Love Rock and Roll" video. Uh, anyway, we had lunch there, and he was sitting, and he took out a a roll a roll of hundreds with a rubber band around them.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he was telling us, but he was kind of boasting. He says, "You see this? This is how my company is giving me this money. This money is for bribes and payoffs when we fly to Turkey and then to Iraq to pay off the airport officials where we have to refuel because we're delivering tanks in in the hold of the plane." And I said, what? I mean, what? You're going to get shot down?" He says, "No, that's what the money's for."
You accidentally said Iraq instead of Iran, but I get it. It's
Yes,
the
I'm
brain.
sorry.
It's
Yeah,
okay. But
right.
I mean, I always say somebody had to do it for
That's right.
someone, and that happened. That was him. Just happened to be him.
That was the privateers, the private people that the government uses to cover their asses.
By the way, that's another literal scam, treason that no one went to jail for.
Of
Well,
course.
didn't Oliver North go to jail for a little bit? But that was it. He was like the fall guy, and then he ended up being on Fox News or something. He
Uh,
took the blame.
Oliver North, yeah, and then the other guy, the
I'll look
bald headed,
look that up.
the bald headed guy.
What? You're not talking about Liddy?
Yeah, G.
He
Gordon.
he was involved with Iran-Contra too.
I think so.
He
Yeah.
wasn't just a Nixon scam
Yeah.
guy.
Well, look him up.
Here it says what it says right here. Iran-Contra's political scandal of the 80s involved in illegal sale of weapons to the Khomeini regime, who we were supposed to hate, by the way.
Right.
Okay, so we're selling guns and weapons to a guy that we're supposed to hate, to the Islamic Republic of Iran to encourage the release of American hostages then held in Lebanon. North formulated the second part of the plan, which was to divert proceeds. And then additionally, great. So not only that, we're selling the Islamic Republic of Iran, who we're supposed to hate, weapons to basically bribe to get American hostages out of Lebanon. And then it says North formulated the second part, which was to divert proceeds from those sales to support the Contra rebel groups in Nicaragua, which had been specifically prohibited under the Boland Amendment, and North was granted limited immunity from prosecution in exchange for testifying before Congress about the scheme. He was initially convicted of 3 felony charges, but the convictions were vacated and reversed, and all charges against him were dismissed in 1991. Lovely. Zero, nothing. Well. I guess he did say well a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
So literally, so not even he went to jail. I thought at least he went to jail, and
Well,
they could have impeached Reagan for that.
nobody goes to jail, EJ. Don't you understand that?
But at least during Watergate, Nixon got pardoned, but at least all of his crony crooks went to jail. But that was back then. When you had
That's before Reaganomics.
He really was the beginning of the end, wasn't it?
Yes, he was.
Wasn't he?
We've been taking the scenic route from the shiny city on the hill ever since.
Well, it's like the people there. I'm sure there's a few people living in their metaphorical shining city on the hill, on top of like the giant dumpster fire that's everything else. But up at the top, it's like looking outside of the. It's like being in one of those restaurants, those skyrise restaurants that has
Right.
like the spinning around.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this is fun, and then it's like Mad Max Thunderdome at the
Down,
bottom.
down below. Right.
Yeah, it's like combination of Blade Runner and The Fifth Element. Remember?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
watched it.
that's another
Yeah.
one. Chris Rock, Penniless.
What do you mean, Chris Rock?
Yeah.
What, did he file bankruptcy or something?
Yeah.
Really? I haven't heard about this at all.
Yeah.
Are you
That was
are you
another
making this up? I'm
No,
looking this
that
up
was
right now.
I was reading it this morning. It was an article in Facebook.
Well, hey, you have to check. You have to make sure that's not bullshit.
Whatever. Who cares?
That's an approach you could take. I just want to make sure we're not completely, no, you know what's a scam? I do know this is true. Remember the whole bullshit Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the
Yeah.
Oscars? And this is true. And you can look this up. He like increased ticket sales on his comedy shows from like, I think it was like $80 to like $400 or something. So Will Smith slapping him in the face was good for business.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
That's why if they do indict Trump, he will probably rake in billions of dollars from his supporters.
I mean, it's just so pathetic.
You know
Like
what I'm saying?
what are they waiting for? They can't do an IRS audit on him now that he's not president anymore. At least get him for that. I'm sure you would
There's
need it.
there's not enough people in the IRS.
No, with that
Yeah.
80,000 people that they just hired, they probably need 20,000 dedicated just to Trump's taxes auditing.
Right.
It would probably take a decade to audit him. So
Well, his Jewish CFO is in jail.
we'll talk because I don't know what I'm doing. We only have about 6 minutes left before I have to start a new video because that's your conspiracy, which I don't want to talk about. But yes, what's his name? Weisselberg.
Yeah,
And what did they get him for? Just for fraud?
seven felonies for fraud.
All right, where's this guy? Is he actually in jail? What prison is he
Yes,
in?
he's in jail.
But did he go to Michael Cohen's jail?
Of course.
Let me see. What was his name? Alan
No,
Weisselberg.
Actually, I think he went to Rikers,
Let me see.
which
Alan
is
Weisselberg.
which is a nightmare where all crooks should go.
Oh, wait, no, but check this out. On January 20th, January 10th of this year, already only, here's what it says. He pled not guilty, but on August 18th, 2022, he pled guilty to all 15 counts of grand larceny, criminal tax fraud, and falsifying business records. As part of the plea deal, he agreed to testify against the Trump organization, not Trump himself, and pay almost $2 million in back taxes with interest and penalties and waive any right to appeal. Says Weisselberg testified to the Trump organization's tax fraud trial, stating, I want to know what that happened with that. He said that Trump's sons knew the company paid executives personal expenses that were not reported as income and provided bonuses if they were independent contractors. January 10th, 2023, Weisselberg was sentenced to 5 months in the infirmary unit of Rikers Island.
Okay.
So, what does that mean? You're in like the shithole, but you're in like the doctor's office of the shithole.
It means you're getting ass raped by the orderlies.
Oh, well, there goes if you ever wanted to get monetized, if you want to make money from this episode, you just ruined it.
Why?
Thank you. You can't say stuff like that if you want to get paid. YouTube has like very strict guidelines on what you can and cannot say if you want to be monetized.
Okay.
But just keep that in mind. I mean, say whatever you want, but just know if you say certain things, which you'll never know, you won't get paid. But I'm sure that is not one of the things that you could say and still get ads. Just for the record, since that's. But yes, you could say other things happened to him. But even, was it only 5 months?
He'll get Epstein.
But no, well, yeah. So he's in jail right now.
Yeah,
I really want to know what that
at,
is.
at Rikers Island.
But what does that mean, the infirmary unit? So he's just staying in the doctor's office the whole time?
Yeah, I'm sure they have an infirmary where everybody who's getting ass raped has to go.
Hey, hey, what did I just say? What did I just say? Lay off on the, was it pig Latin? I'm not going to bother with that. Yeah, just cut it out with that stuff. Or not, and then don't be pissed off when we get canceled.
Well, he's in the infirmary where people that get shanked and drug overdose and other things done to their bodies have to recuperate.
So that's better. But why? They just, so what? He just, oh, he's probably pulling like a Weinstein when he looked automatically, as soon as he was arrested, he was starting to push
Yeah,
that walker around.
he's pulling a Pinochet.
Oh, right. Oh, and then he's let go for, and then he's not paralyzed anymore. That's a big time scam we have to talk about. And
Right.
I think Margaret Thatcher really liked Pinochet or something, and
Oh yeah.
she was there when he got out of his wheelchair. I
Yeah.
think, or something like that. Also, depending who you ask. If you ask a British person, she's either the best or the worst prime minister they've ever had.
Right.
She's like their Reagan,
She
basically.
was. They
Yeah,
were they were they were best of buddies.
yeah. They were, and now we're both reaping. Both countries are reaping the consequences
That's right.
of being fucked and
Right.
dissolving before our eyes. All right, so I'm going to take a break now so we can
Why?
start, because I have to start the new, because I don't know how to, because I don't know and don't want to pay for software to not have to start a new video. So I have to stop
All
it
right.
now.
So that's fine. We have an intermission.
Right, intermission,
But I didn't write down what I wanted to talk about.
which there would be ad breaks in the future potentially, but not because you said what you said, which I don't want to say.
What? You
Because
can't say ASS?
no, not that part. The other part.
All right.
All right, we're gonna take a break now, and
But they can
maybe
say that on Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
yeah, but they're not trying to get YouTube ad revenue. They're just letting Danny DeVito be insane,
All
which
right.
is different, or crawling naked out of a couch. Props to Danny DeVito for being. He's older than you, by the way,
Yeah.
but he still acts like he's been on cocaine since 1973. So, all right, we'll take a break and we'll be back to talk about more IRS tax scams and other associated shenanigans.
Okay.
All right, we're back now because Zoom has failed us, and now we're using a new browser only Riverside. Hopefully, it works. That's all I can say.
And
So,
I changed my browser.
and as I was saying for the fifth time, so they hired around 80,000 IRS agents, and they're trying to go after the wealthy and the corporations. But as I said, I think most Americans, we all kind of agree that's not going to happen. Because as we saw, they're already instituting a program to go after servers' tips.
Of
So,
course. They want to get all the AOCs.
or formerly AOCs.
Yeah. They're emptying the buckets of ice at the bar.
So
Heaven forbid she should make some money on tips.
So, what is the solution to all of this, if there even is a solution? That's
First, I have a question. Is there a way we can pause the recording? No? Okay. So what do you want to say? I want to say, can you look up, supposedly President Biden had approval for a 15% minimum tax for corporations. Did that happen? Is it approved? Is it a law? And is it in effect? When does it go into effect?
All right. Well, let me look. This is from August 16th of last year. It says Biden's corporate tax hike in the Inflation Reduction Act won't hurt most U.S. companies, Wall Street analyst says. Corporate business advocates have railed against 15% corporate minimum tax. President Biden is scheduled to sign legislation. Tax analysts say the reforms will not adversely affect most companies. The 1% excise tax proposed on stock buybacks will not be enough to discourage companies from the practice. So let's talk about that, too. So basically, I mean, who knows who wrote this article? It's from NBC.
But that's before they voted on it. What's the current status?
I don't know. Here, it says companies that make more than $1 billion a year will have to pay a minimum tax rate of 15% as well as 1% on stock buybacks. By the way, that's another scam.
Right. When is it effective?
I don't know. The real question is, will it, I mean, let's assume that it is in effect.
No, let's assume that it's going to go into effect in 20 years.
Well, I think the whole point I'm trying to make is that it doesn't matter if it's in effect or not, because even if it is in effect, they'll just figure out how to scam out of it anyways. And now...
I would like to know that there's at least a law in effect.
Well, I'm not going to waste my time right now talking to you for making a podcast to try to figure that out.
All right, because that's what's supposed to pay for those 80,000 IRS workers.
Well, I was going to say, do you know what stock buybacks are?
Yes.
So do you want to explain that? Because I know, but I want to hear you explain it and see if your explanation is the same as my explanation.
That's it, in simple terms. A stock buyback allows a corporation that has profits that it could invest in new operations, new products, new research and development, new human resource raises and benefits, and expansion and community services, or they can use those profit dollars just to buy their own company's stock. And when they buy their own company's stock, that means there's a demand for the stock, which drives the price up. Because all of a sudden, people are buying big loads, tons of this company's stock, even though it's the company that's buying its own stock.
And I believe that during the pandemic, when the government gave all the money to those corporations to, not fire everybody, they ended up using it for stock buybacks.
Right.
So I just want to... This was the information I was able to find out, actually. It's from the Harvard Law School Forum on Corporate Governance, which sounds horribly terrible. But anyways, we hope they know what they're talking about. So here's what it says. Buybacks are a fairly new phenomenon that have been gaining in popularity relative to dividends recently. All but banned in the U.S. during 1930s, FDR, buybacks were seen as a form of market manipulation. Yes. Right? Artificially inflating the stock price. Buybacks were largely illegal until 1982, of course. Reagan.
Right.
When the SEC adopted Rule 10b-18, the safe harbor position under the Reagan administration to combat corporate raiders. This change reintroduced buybacks in the U.S., leading to wider adoption around the world. Oh, great. Spread it around. Next 20 years. So, here we go. Buyback mechanisms vary depending on jurisdiction. While the board approves of buybacks in many jurisdictions, shareholders do have a say in certain countries, probably not the United States, typically through an annual meeting. There are also multiple methods of stock repurchase, not just repurchasing method achieved through the open market. While more than 95% of shares are repurchased through the open market, some companies have purchased shares through tender offices and Dutch auctions. Overall, companies' use of buybacks is related to their capital intensity, firm age, and financial position. While each company is unique and idiosyncratic, trends over the last decade show the... Okay. So, figured it was made illegal during the Great Depression by FDR, and then it was undone under Reagan. And yes, it looks like from what I just read that the justification to allow stock buybacks again was it said stop corporate raiders. So it's like, well, we have to let corporations stop themselves from being hostily taken over, so we have to allow them to buy back their own stock. Is what I understand from what I just read. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But this seems to be why they justified it.
That's the excuse that they...
Well, yeah, of course, that's the excuse. So, why does no one talk about that? And I'm sure it's done through shell corporations. Like, I just heard...
When they say that the stockholders decide, the stockholders, with these stock buybacks, the stockholders are the company. The company owns the stock. Do you understand that?
Yes.
So when it's an annual meeting and you put in your, okay, I'm going to vote and I have 50 shares, okay? And my 50 shares say yes, no, maybe. Their 50,000 shares say yes, no, maybe. So they decide themselves what they're going to do. They are the stockholders. Yes, there's millions of other people holding the stock, but the company itself, with the stock buybacks, is putting themselves in a leadership majority, or a large stockholder block is the company's board of directors.
So, why... I mean, we know why it's happened, or why it's allowed, but do you hear much people talk about it? Like, why is it still happening? Why is that? Well, I mean, look, it's like they put 1%, that's what the Inflation Reduction Act put 1% tax on stock buyback, but that doesn't mean anything, really, right?
Well, it's a way of raising money for the government to raise money by taxing.
But why have it at all?
Well, yeah.
You know?
A company should not be allowed to buy its own stock.
All right, here's what some fraud said. Neil Bradley, Executive Vice President and Chief Policy Officer of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, said the minimum tax would make America poorer and reduce...
Lee J, skip it. It's all manipulated for the 1%.
Well, no, I want to know what they're saying. Good, so we can... Look, he added the 1% excise tax on stock buybacks will distort the efficient movement of capital and diminish the value of Americans' retirement savings. No, it won't. Dad, they're gonna try to kill Social Security and Medicare someday.
Yes.
When it's whoever horrible... President DeSantis, second term.
It doesn't matter, EJ. The planet Earth will burn to a crisp, and all of it will go away. There will be no internet. There will be no Riverside or Zoom.
Well, that's what I've been talking about. Imagine what would happen if the internet just stopped working for like a week.
How about for an hour?
Or even an hour.
Yeah.
I think people actually would kill themselves.
You think the Chinese government isn't figuring out how to do that?
I'm sure everyone's got nerds figuring out how to eventually be able to shut down everybody's systems, which again, going back to, I believe, I don't know if this is still true, but remember back in the day they said that Putin has all of his people use typewriters.
Right, that's right.
So they can't be hacked and they can't be turned off.
Right.
So.
And we're busy threatening ourselves over the Luftballons.
Yeah, so since you brought that up, what do you think about the balloon? Because apparently people are getting pissed off or freaked out. I haven't, like I said, I'm overseas, so I don't really know much. But what's the take, or the tea, as they call it, on the balloon?
From my standpoint, the decision, the U.S. Pentagon did the right decision, which was to let it fall in the territorial waters so they can retrieve it all. If they blew it up over land, all the pieces would be broken.
Right.
So it's a soft landing for the debris, which I think was a very good decision. Now, what is our response to China? Stuff it up your ass, China.
Okay. So my question is, they said it came through Canada.
Right.
Did they not tell us? Or did it not matter that it came through? You know what I mean? Like, I honestly don't really care, because it just seems like to me, that whole balloon seems like another manipulation type deal.
There's been two more. Did you know that?
I have no idea.
We've had three.
Ooh, people are so freaking out. Republicans are probably foaming at the mouth about Biden. How dare this derelict, terrible communist allow the Chinese to send balloons into our sacred American airspace?
They just shot something down in Alaska on the ice, the frozen ocean.
Yeah?
And it was the size of a car.
Oh, big one.
But it wasn't necessarily a balloon. And we're all waiting to hear what it is, because they have to go out on the ice. I guess helicopters over the ice. And the government has said in equivocal, without a doubt, it was not aliens.
Well, okay. Well,
right.
they're never...
So it's not aliens. It's an unidentified flying object, a UFO. And that's the true meaning of UFO.
But is that...
They don't know what it is.
Well, they don't know if it's from China, though.
They don't know. No, they don't know what it is or where it came from.
So the first balloon confirmed for China?
Yes.
Okay, first it was China, but
It
these
was
other
China. They have the pieces made in, made. They know it's from China, and China said it was theirs.
But they did.
They said it was a weather balloon off course, blown away by the westerly winds. Yeah, right. Okay.
So that's the thing. You can't. I really don't believe anybody anymore about anything.
Right.
Right? Because you really think the government would say, "Oh yeah, it's an alien ship." You know?
Well, you could see it. People could see it.
Yeah? So it is real.
It is real, and it's funny because I started watching the series V. I don't know if you ever knew what that... It was a movie.
I know V.
Yeah, with the giant saucers. So I'm in the middle of watching that, and the balloon comes. It's like, whoa! This is like the China syndrome. Remember China syndrome? Which happened when 3 Mile Island happened at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa! Is this a publicity event? Because everyone went to see the movie. Right.
I mean, oh boy, it's hard to, like I said, it's hard to tell anything right now.
Right.
So,
are we going to believe the Pentagon?
I mean, again, why would we? Why should we? Why should we? That's the thing. That's part of the reason why everything is falling apart. And again,
because it's all a scam. Excuse me.
Yes.
Is the balloon a scam?
Is it even real?
It is real.
Is it?
Yeah, because we saw it.
Or the news said it was real.
Yeah.
So it could be fake.
You could see the jet fighter shot a missile and blew it up. And
It's hard to believe anything anymore.
All right, so this is the moon landing was fake.
I don't. You know what? I don't know. I never. Some people say it's fake for whatever reason. In my heart and my gut, I'll say we went there. I don't know why. I'm not. No, I just think. It's because I just think not everything used to be a lie or a scam back then.
Right.
Like not everything.
But now it is.
Now it seems most things are. You
Right.
know, like Should we just say? I guess it was Reagan, man. It really comes down to Reagan. That was the turning point.
Why shouldn't we believe it's all a scam if the scammers never have accountability?
Right.
Well, if you're not gonna stop murderers, they're gonna continue to murder.
Yes. And if they're going to let insider traders continue to insider trade and these huge financial firms continue to tank the economy and have zero consequences, why won't they keep doing it? I actually rewatched that Too Big to Fail movie.
Yeah.
Recently. I liked it. It's like, yeah, it's like, that was a scam too.
Yeah.
$700 billion and nobody cared.
And before that, it was $100 billion. With Papa Bush and the savings and loans.
Oh God, that's such a long time ago. No one even remembers that.
Right.
But it happens over and over and over, all the time. The pandemic was just another excuse to scam everything.
Look, as long as Long Islanders vote for George Santos, this is our reality.
Well, we could have a whole 3-hour conversation on George Santos, and I think we will, maybe another time. But he's just the beginning. He's the dawning of a new era.
You're not seeing the joy of watching the current House of Representative committees investigating. It's such a clown show that you can't believe that it's real people that you're watching.
Well, like I said, most of the time it's becoming nothing, because nothing happens, nothing actually gets done anymore, really, most of the time.
Right.
It's just become performance art, basically, these congressional hearings.
It's a clown show.
Yeah.
And Biden, in spite of it all, has been a very good president, comparatively speaking, and still everybody wants him not to be reelected, and it's because the unspoken word is what you know. What is the unspoken word on him running again?
Well, he's too old?
And what does that mean?
What do you mean? It's like ageism?
It means if he runs again,
yeah,
you're going to end up with the vice president.
Oh God, yeah. I think it's
So he has to. If he wants to get another term, he's going to have to dump her.
I think it's kind of an open secret that
because that's why nobody wants that possibility.
Well, I think it's kind of an open secret. People are already talking about it, how she's like notoriously unpopular. She's even more unpopular than him.
Right.
She has lower approval ratings than him. So they won't get rid of her now, but I think they'll definitely switch her out if he runs again.
Right.
They'll come up with some excuse.
They're going to pick some running mate. They're talking about the asshole. What the hell's his name? It was the from New York who ran the House for the Democrats, and he lost his own seat.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah, vice president.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because why?
Oh,
because he's a failure.
He doesn't have a job. Oh, that would be. Oh
right.
God,
he has no job.
That made me like want to throw up in my mouth a little. Yeah, it's that Sean Patrick Maloney.
Yeah.
He's the guy that scammed the black progressive out of his district.
Right.
Made Mondaire Jones run in that New York City district. That was another scam when they sent him that guy that was like a millionaire to wipe out all the progressives. And then he lost.
Right.
So he like scammed 2 districts.
Right. And so now they're talking about him being
Really?
the running mate for Biden.
Oh God, really? Oh, it's disgusting. Really? Who said that? I want to know who said that. Are you watching your MSNBC?
Google it. I'm sure it's already there.
All right. Well,
possible running mates for Joe Biden.
All right.
Because nobody expects him to make it to 86.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of evident. The guy, I mean, a normal human being couldn't even do that. So that means he's going to get sick, he's going to die, or he's going to get sick, or he's going to get dementia, or who knows what. He'll have a stroke, like the guy, our guy from Pennsylvania, almost died. And if that happens, who steps in?
Yeah.
Kamalaka?
Campayo? Kaha.
Kaha. Right.
Oh, man. I mean, I can't find anybody saying that was him, but, I mean, people are probably just throwing out names.
Yeah?
I still think if you were clever, they should have tried to make her on the Supreme Court. That would have been a good way to get rid of her.
Remember when... Right. Oh, God.
But, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's an open secret. It says, here's an article from some random person from November of last year.
Remember when the head of the Democrats failed and Hillary hired her?
Right, yeah, that was the lady from Florida that you met once.
Right.
I don't remember her name. Oh, yeah, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah.
So right. She scammed the primary for Bernie, and then they got caught, and then she's like, oh, come be the co-chair of my campaign.
Exactly.
That's not going to upset anyone. Right? Oh, God. Let's see.
You have some nice Bernie t-shirts that I had to wash.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? Bernie still hasn't said that. He said, I think the last thing he said he would only run for president again if Biden was not running for president, which is why they will make him run again.
Right.
Even if he's in a wheelchair, even if he's an astral projection hologram, even if they have to push him in this, like they did with Strom Thurmond and Robert Byrd, that's why they'll probably stick with, as long as Biden's still alive.
It's time to vote. Here you go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like literally, as long as Biden is still alive, they will push him, like literally push him through.
Right.
To stop any progressive insurgent.
So anyway, they're saying that if it's Biden and Trump, Biden will win. If it's Biden and DeSantis, Biden will lose. Because you'll have an 80-year plus guy running against a 40-something.
Well, yeah. So, God, do we really... it's like the descent is Trump versus Biden again.
Again.
Even more old and senile. It's like the sequel. The sequel's never as good as the original.
Right.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Oh, God. How pathetic is that going to... Remember, they might not even have debates anymore. That's what they said. Because they're all pointless and worthless.
And Biden's getting the primaries. They're changing from Iowa to the Carolina.
Yeah, because that's the one he did the best in. So they're already rigging the primaries for him. Yeah. I don't understand. Why does this have to... Well, again, we know why, because everything's a scam. It's all done on purpose. But I'm just saying, Why not just have all the primaries on the same day? That would make sense. Then there'd be less bullshit, there'd be less pageantry, there'd be less scam manipulation.
It would probably cost a lot less also.
Well, that's why.
Right.
Iowa wants money, and they make money because for some reason they're the first, and now it's going to be South Carolina. So Biden will win that.
Well,
because
New Hampshire is fighting against it.
Right.
But who the hell cares about New Hampshire? That's
right.
Sununu's going to run against Trump.
Oh, God! There's going to be so many useless and forgettable, generic.
And it's good because it's good for Trump because the more there are, the better for him.
Right. Well, like I said, if they really don't want him, you need the Koch brothers to go to Ron DeSantis and say, "Here's $100 billion or however much money they have. Right? Here's $15 billion. Here's $20 billion."
I don't think it's going to be DeSantis.
Why?
Because he's too weird.
What do you mean he's too weird?
He's too weird for America.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
He wants to Floridate the country.
Yeah, but
maybe in Florida he can get away with that. Where, by the way, the Florida legislature is just passing their new gun control law, which is you don't need a permit and you don't need training to have a gun.
'Cause fuck you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's supported by DeSantis. So all of the parents who have to send their kids to school and truly worry, and be paranoid about their safety of their kids.
Well,
they'll prevent that. No, it'll be like Tulsi Gabbard, the Indian woman from South Carolina. I sent you her real name.
Yeah, I know.
That's her real name.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Who could actually stop Trump from getting a nomination again? DeSantis seems to be the only one who has at least a possibility.
I don't think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be a woman.
But do you think it'll actually work?
No.
So it will be
Biden again.
It'll be a senile versus dementia 2024, the remix.
Yeah.
Oh no, really? I was talking about that. Because I just started this new semester of this master's program. Which, yeah, everybody, I'm doing a Master's of American Studies in Spain because I've always wanted to do that, and I've always thought it was interesting to do a master's program like that in another country, so it's at least a different perspective. It's not completely biased, but they were showing us the different inauguration speeches of, Obama and Trump and Biden, and I remember saying to them, you know how sad it was? I actually remember when Trump first became president, I actually thought, you know what? Maybe he'll actually adult up a little bit. Maybe he'll actually stop wearing the face paint. Maybe he'll stop spending 4 hours a day on his hair. How naive and hopeful was I back then? I actually thought that might have been a possibility. But, oh God, didn't they say he spent $100,000 a year on his hair? That was a tax deduction or something?
Yeah.
Everything is a scam. Oh my God. Oh. So
here is the Scamcast, DJ. I have a list of 20 things.
All right, well, we're not going to do that now because we've already talked for too long this time. So save that for next time. I was going to say we start off with... how about this for closing statement? What are your final thoughts on the IRS and since tax season's coming up? How do you feel about it? And what should people do who aren't corporations or millionaires and billionaires?
File their taxes.
That's it?
Yeah.
And hope you don't fuck up?
Yeah.
Because it's designed for you to fuck it up and fail, so you get audited. Dad, one of my friends who's a teacher overseas got audited a couple years ago.
Right. Here's, I could tell you, I don't know the current story, how it's changed, but one thing you want to avoid is claiming a percentage of your rent as home office expense.
Why?
Because that one line item, the IRS always grabs you. They're always looking at that. For some reason, they decided that would be unacceptable. So, if you're paying $450 a month, and you want to legitimately say, well, actually, 15% of that rent is me using the facility to run my business. Okay, that's true. It's respectable, but that's what the IRS is looking for.
But how would that be? How would that be wrong?
Because if you have to justify where did you come up with 15%?
Oh, like the random number.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So you have to answer them, and once you're having a one-to-one conversation with the IRS, you're screwed.
You're already finished.
Right.
Yeah.
You're finished.
By the way, have you ever been audited?
No. Well, yes. I mean, I have been challenged on one or two accounts where they said that it was unaccepted. They didn't accept something, and I had to modify my return. That happened once or twice.
But it wasn't like a full-on audit or whatever. Never happened. When they go through all of your stuff.
No, you're right. I don't think that that's ever happened. And it was just notices by mail. I never was dealing with an investigator.
Right. Well, maybe you know what? Maybe with all this money and agents, maybe they'll actually answer the phone now.
Well, where are they going to find all these agents?
I don't know. A bunch of accountants need jobs still. A bunch of people graduating with accounting degrees. It's got to be somebody out there.
What about
math?
What about cousin Stephen?
Oh well, let's not talk about that.
Okay.
He's gonna keep.
Never mind.
Yes. Okay. I think that's it. So, moral of the story is: file your taxes, do your best, because we're on our honor, which is unbelievable. Right. You're on your honor and you're on your own, and unless you're a giant multinational corporation or a millionaire or billionaire, you're going to get screwed.
So here's my secret that they're going to find on this podcast and throw me in jail. That I'm going to claim the super...
Wait, no. Whatever you're going to say, don't say it. Why would you screw yourself like that?
Because it's fun.
You know what? You can do that when you're dead. How about that?
Okay.
Moral of the story is, that's also a moral story. Don't incriminate yourself. File your taxes. And if you ever get pulled over by the cops, just say, I want a lawyer.
Right.
That's it. Okay? So I think we're finished because I'm 6 hours ahead of you and I'm done. So
keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut is probably one of the best words of advice in our scam society.
So why are we doing this?
Because we need somewhere to get our scam rage out.
Okay.
That's why. So, good luck, everybody. Avoid the scam. The great, grand scam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.